Bar for bar album reviews. Conway the Machine, From King to a God. From King to a God is the proper debut album from Buffalo rapper Conway the Machine. I say proper debut because this is the first project that he's released in his lengthy discography that's actually listed as an album. This album has been long awaited by many, especially because Conway's mentioned it so many times as his debut and how often he's hyped it up for fans. As many Griselda fans know, this isn't the first project that Conway's dropped this year. He's also dropped LULU and No One Mourns the Wicked, so he's had a pretty busy year. This album's also meant to be kind of a preview of what's to come with his Shady Records debut, God Don't Make Mistakes. We don't have a release date for that project just yet, but if we're to assume that it's going to be better From King to a God, we're in for some amazing music. This album comes in at a total runtime of 49 minutes with 14 tracks. 2 of those tracks are interludes, and the other 2 are meant to be bonus tracks, even if the track list doesn't say it explicitly. This runtime and track length are excellent given the body of work Conway has given us. The 2 interludes on this album are voice snippets from DJ Shay, who recently passed away due to COVID-19. Conway and Shay had a really close working relationship, and Shay was supposedly the person that truly believed in what Conway could do, even after getting shot and being left with Bell's palsy. From King to a God starts off with the track From King. This track serves as an introduction for the uninitiated to Conway's style and his accolades. While many longtime listeners may not learn anything new about Conway, it does remind us of what level of skill he has. He starts off his verse with the line, "So many verses of the year that I've written, I'm feeling jaded," which comes off as both a humble brag as well as a well-deserved accomplishment. Conway is the type of rapper that just refuses to be out-rapped on any track, and because of that, he's contributed many verses that can be seen as verses of the year. It's also a little jab at other rappers in general because it's just commonplace for him to do this now, and he's just become jaded to having to do it all the time. It could also just be seen as him wanting more competition on tracks as well. This then flows into the next 2 tracks, Fear of God featuring Deja Loaf and Lemon featuring Method Man. I'm putting both these tracks together because I've done full breakdowns for them already, if you want to get a better look at them. The general theme of Fear of God is the lack of fear from Conway and to shed some light on the things that rappers say they do, but he actually does. With Lemon, the track kind of touches on the idea of when life gives you lemon, make lemonade. Plus, Method Man delivered one of the best verses I've heard in a long time. So make sure you check out the breakdowns if you want to get a better idea. Also, Meth hopped into the comments and dropped some knowledge for us too. Dawandamani is a 2-part track, with the first half being produced by The Alchemist and the second by Derringer. The first part is pretty straightforward and is really just talking about the money that Conway has and where Griselda has been getting it from, really. This is especially interesting to new listeners because, Conway hasn't dropped an album, so it's kind of interesting to see this significant amount of money that he has. He does touch on this briefly by saying, "They wonder where I'm getting money. I ain't sell a record. I tell them I'm simply playing chess instead of checkers," which is really just translates to, I've been planning a lot of my moves in advance. The transition from the first part to the second is supplemented by a brief interlude from the movie Juice, with a snippet saying, "I'll hold on to the gun." Why should he hold on to the gun? Because I already got it, motherfucker. The "cause I already got a" bit is repeated throughout the second half of the track as well. This half of the track, it really just talks about what he used to do before rap, since it's kind of a new hobby to him. This half of the record has a production style that is more typical of a Griselda project, and that makes sense since it is Derringer on the production. The next track, Juvenile Hell, is insane. Everything about this track, from the beat to the features to the chorus, is just so good to me. This is actually the first track on the album that really just made me go like, hold up, let me run that back, let me hear that again. This track features Lloyd Banks, Flea Lord, and Havoc. And the only complaint I have about this track is that Havoc doesn't have a verse of his own. Although he did do an excellent job on the chorus, and he did produce the track. This track just takes us through some of the general activities that all 3 rap features did back in their juvenile days. Frontlines is the track that came out right around the time protests really started kicking off. and it was very appropriate given the subject matter. On this track, the biggest thing that he tackled is police brutality, and seeing as he is someone who's suffered and seen others suffer through it, I mean, he definitely felt the need to speak on these issues. At first, I was confused by its addition to the album because it had come out some time ago now, but it's definitely a song that needs to be on here, given that nothing really has changed and people still refuse to believe that things need to change. The second verse is where he really goes in on the current system. Cracker invent the laws, that's why the system is flawed. Cops killing black people on camera and don't get charged. We ain't taking no more, we ain't just pressing record. Can't watch you kill my brother, you gonna have to kill us all. This entire song is a must listen, but I also just want to point out this other line. What if it was my son? I wonder how I'm gonna react. I bet I'm finna run up in this precinct with this Mac. This isn't something that I believe only Conway would feel, but what many people feel. Like, it's not even meant to be a line about how hard he is or whatever. Like, it's just a genuine reaction. Like, if you see your son get murdered by a cop for doing nothing, you're probably gonna have that same sort of initial reaction. Like, there needs to be some sort of revenge. This then takes us into the track Anza, which features Armani Caesar. And this song has a beat that I would never expect Conway to rap over on this album. However, he killed it. This track is an excellent display of Conway's versatility on beats, and it shows that he doesn't have to just rap on these grimy East Coast beats. This entire track is really just a big flex from both rappers, and the beat definitely adds to it. We already know that the Griselda camp are fans of high fashion, and this track really puts that on display. Also, for those of you doubting Armani Caesar, you can stop now. She just rapped her ass off on this verse, and she's probably going to do the same on her album. The next track before the second Shay interlude is Seen Everything But Jesus, which features Freddie Gibbs. This track feels as though it carries the same sort of sentimental feeling that we got the last time the two collaborated on Babies and Fools from Freddie Gibbs' Alfredo. This track really just has both rappers looking back at the things that they've seen and that they've lived through, which makes them realize, wow, I've been through a lot and I'm still here. This is a different bag than what these two often rap about, but I guess that makes sense seeing as they're getting older and have kids. They've just kind of begun to reflect on life a little bit more. Spurs 3 brings the expected Griselda Boys track. This track has a very classic Griselda sound to it, so it's great to have Westside and Benny on it. The title of the track refers to Spurs 3 that lasted up until the 2017 NBA season. This makes sense because they're basically comparing themselves to three of the greats. They all bring the best out of each other, and even though they're great on their own, they're even better together. The biggest thing to take away from this is that Griselda's taken notice of the shift in sound to things that are a bit more Griselda-esque. This track is also just a big flex as well, just like the track Anza, but in a slightly different way. Here, everyone's acknowledging their success in the rap game, which is important because of the shifts in the way that other rappers have been carrying themselves. Like Conway said, things are starting to feel a little bit more Griselda-esque. The final track, aside from the bonuses, is Forever Dropping Tears. This track features El Camino's vocals on the chorus and two extremely heartfelt verses from Conway. The first has him talking about Country Mike, who he used to do work with. He mentions how he was going to go with him for a drop-off, but he was actually in the booth busy. Unfortunately, Country Mike died in a high-speed chase, and Conway took it really hard. Conway even mentions that if he wasn't recording that night, he may have died too. The second verse is dedicated to DJ Shay, and how much of an impact he had on Conway as well as the rest of Griselda. This track, again, shows the extreme versatility of Conway the Machine. He can go from super energetic tracks like Anza to grimier tracks like Spurs 3 and to a heartfelt track that brought me to tears with Forever Dropping Tears. And this track is just emotional to me, even though I've never lost anyone like that. The first of the two bonus tracks, Jesus Crisis, is conveniently produced by Crisis. I feel like this track could have totally been included in the normal track list of the album rather than a bonus, and it wouldn't have felt out of place at all. I really enjoy it due to some of the wordplay on it, like with the lines, lyrics written in Braille, you gotta feel it to understand, and Dude's trying blocking my goals, I'm gonna make it messy. It just sounds fun. It's just a fun song. The final track on this album, and the last bonus track, is Nothing Less. This track is produced by DJ Premier, and it has a very DJ Premier sound to it. This track, I understand why it's included as a bonus, because I have no idea where it would fit into the album proper. But to me, it's really just meant to be a bonus track that they just happen to have. It's not bad, it's just not the same sound and feel as the rest of the project. Overall, From King to a God is one of my favorite albums this year, and given a few more months to listen to it, it's probably going to push Alfredo out of the #1 spot. Even with the high expectations I had for this album, it just exceeded them. I can't even imagine what we would get from his Shady debut if this is just meant to be an appetizer. My favorite tracks are Fear of God, Juvenile Hell, Seen Everything But Jesus, Spurs 3, and Forever Dropping Tears. I really got nothing to say. Like, Conway just took everything and made an amazing album. And like I said, if this is any sign of what we're going to be getting for his Shady debut, I'm not ready for that. Like, that's going to be amazing. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this album if you've listened to it. If you haven't listened to it, definitely check it out because it's one of the best albums I've listened to this year. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.